It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So today's video has actually been 3 months in the preparation. It's not really anything too out there, but it was just something that I needed to take that long to try and see if it worked. From a keyboard perspective, it probably sounds all very strange and very mysterious, but let me explain where it came from and what I ended up with before we actually have a look at it. So the title you would have seen is, I don't know, I haven't thought up the title of this video yet, something to do with, sun and fading, color bleaching, that kind of thing. So months ago, 3 months ago to be more precise, there was a bit of kerfuffle that was going on because people were experiencing that some of their GMK keycaps were being sun bleached. So more specifically, something like this. So the GMK bleached, which is meant to be a nice white color, sitting out in the sun was yellowing under the sun very, very quickly. And you'll see another example of that is where the top part of it, where it's been exposed to some light, is changing quite dramatically. And you'll see, they talk about sitting next to a window in semi-direct sunlight, but the window is never opened. So that got me thinking about, I am very aware that keycaps will change color. That's quite normal over time as they do get affected by UV. And the other thing is, my own experience with anodized things in the archery space is that aluminium that's been anodized when it's in direct sunlight for a very long time will also fade. So one of my risers from archery, it used to be a really lovely deep blue, but then it sort of faded over the years into being a more grey silver blue, which was really interesting. When I purchased it secondhand, it had a lot of sun fade, and when I took off the plate on the side which the sight mounts onto, you can still see the original color underneath, which was really cool. So I was like, I don't really have any keycaps like this to sit in the sun that would give me a good sort of experiment to run with. But there was something else that I'd seen ages ago, which was about anodized. And I thought, well, that's something a little bit less expected, but I do have more experience with. And while this was only 2 days ago from the time that I'm filming this, and today is December 22nd, 2021, this was what I was more wanting to sort of check out in the context of anodized and sunlight. Now, I know that anodized in direct sunlight, in summer sun, for example, can be quite damaging. But what about if it's indoors and through a window? Through just standard glass, through not treated glass or tinted glass that would potentially cut down on a lot of rays, because what happened over here is that they specifically said they sit next to a window, but the window is not open. Right? So I decided to run an experiment. And the experiment that I ran was I got my anodized keycap that I purchased from Mountain Keyboards. So, there's a little card up there if you want to see it. It's the red one that was meant to be to fundraise for good. I think it was for the Food Bank of New South Wales or something like that, just off the top of my head. And what I did was in September, the 7th of September at 6 o'clock at night, when the sun had already started going down, I taped it to the inside of my balcony window. Now, this is a sliding glass door with a fly screen on the other side. And this is very important because this is to simulate being that indoor next to a window in standard conditions. Now, in Australia, a lot of windows that open will have a fly screen because, that's just how it is. We have lots of flies and mosquitoes and so on and so forth. What's more important for this setup is that this balcony is directly east facing. So in the morning, it cops the eastern sun. So that's what it looks like at night. And let me just close off the file information there. You can see this is without the fly screen, just as I taped it. I taped half of it over with masking tape, several layers to protect it, and I left half of it exposed for the sun. It just sits on a switch on top of one of my little square wooden mounting blocks that I used to make with my CNC machine, and that is it in the morning the next day. So the glass isn't clean, it's not like pure clean, because once again, this is reality. Like, a lot of people aren't going to be on the outside, especially if they're in a high-rise apartment, cleaning their glass windows all the time, or if you're in an office block or something like that. And that is the sun that it cops. You'll see that's it through the fly screen, and then that's it without the fly screen and what it looks like in daylight. So that half of that keycap gets that full exposure of the sun. So now it's been October the 8th, November the 8th, December the 8th. So it's been 3 months of spring moving into summer sunlight. Untouched, unremoved. Now, of course, I used masking tape to hold this up, and now that I peeled it off yesterday, it's left residue on the glass. But that's okay, it'll clean off the glass. I'll end up doing it at some point in time. So what I've got now is I've got a keycap that has been sitting in the sun behind a window and a fly screen for 3 months, and I want to see how much of a difference it makes. Has it done anything? What is the risk to my anodized Artisan's keycaps cases? Now, we know that LEDs, bright LEDs, constantly on, sometimes 24/7, is going to fade that anodized because it's a very bright light, high amounts of energy constantly. But periodic sun, still a lot of UV, mind you, but through a window, what's that going to do? So let's check it out. Now, I want to be careful about peeling these, because if I can put it back on afterwards, I can put it back on the window to experience 3 more months of summer sun. And we can come back to this in March. But at the same time, it's just as easy for me to, slap some more tape on anyway, right? Oh my. Alright. You tell me, has that made a single shred of difference? I feel like it has, but it's so minuscule. Like, in terms of just the color balance, it feels like there's just a fraction lighter. I don't know if the camera picks it up very well or not. Like, if you have a look at that, there is just this... There is actually, I honestly believe, like, when you see the reflection at that level, it doesn't show it. It doesn't show it. But the eye pickup on it, like, I feel like there is a slight darkness. Is that visible to people? I honestly don't know. I mean, my wife is a lot better with this kind of stuff. She's just lurking over the side. So the bottom is obviously been in the sun. Not in the sun. Her artistic sense and her color differentiation is a lot better than mine.
Slightly darker.
She says it's slightly darker.
Like it looks slightly blacker.
It looks slightly blacker is what she's saying. And that's kind of what I feel. I feel like the bottom half, which has not been exposed to the sun, has a more of a plum color to it, whereas the top half is starting to turn more of like a wine color to it.
Not probably discernible.
It's I don't think it's very discernible at all from the camera, and I'm not trying to play tricks here about it, but if this camera recording in 2K with autocorrect on it is, capable of showing you that. Fantastic. But, wow. I was actually not sure it was going to show anything, but it's so subtle that the springtime sun really does make a difference. It's a little bit concerning for me, not so much about this artisan as such, but my GMK Firefly lives in the office, and I live in an office building, but it does have very thick glass windows. There is also blinds that come up and down, but they're not automatic. So it depends on the mercy of whoever has actually adjusted it. And I do actually get morning sun that runs across my desk. So what that does mean over time is my poor GMK Firefly is probably going to experience some sun fade. I don't sit directly next to the window anymore. I've moved desks within my building, and I'm one cubicle away from the window, so maybe that might make a difference. Who knows? But in any case, there actually has been a change. There has been a change. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and put this back on the window, and we'll revisit this. We'll revisit this sometime. So that'd be January, February, March. So after March 22nd, maybe sometime in April, perhaps. April, we will check it out and see how much further has it faded in the summer sun. Actually, you know what would be really interesting? Let's blank that off to a quarter. Let's blank that off to a quarter, and then we'll actually have a better idea. So I've got some washi tape here now. The washi tape might be a little bit more gentler on the window, but I don't think it'll really matter for the context of what I'm trying to do here. So I'm gonna blank that. Do I want the top? Yeah, let's do it this way. So the top is going to be the most faded of it. So let's just tape the corner. Just like that. The rest of it on the sides probably doesn't matter too much. There you go. We're going to do that to it. Actually, I'll just use a regular masking tape because the washi tape's so thin. It's a lot of light is still getting through that. It's going to be a very thick keycap now. Hey, you're trying to pinch Daddy's masking tape, are you? Another pair of hands that can now reach on top of the tabletop and try and run off with things. Always fun and games around this household, isn't it? Always interesting things on desks to be pinching. Alright, so that should give it sufficient coverage. Alright, so now we're going to go and stick that little wedge in the sun for 3 months, and we'll come back and see how it turns out. Well, there you go. Something nice and simple. If you sit next to a window, even with a fly screen, and it cops morning sun, not even afternoon sun. So the afternoon sun here in Australia, if you're west facing, is even stronger than morning sun. And like, I don't have any windows that are westward sun facing anymore. My other balcony used to be, but then they built an apartment block next door, so I don't get that anymore. Otherwise I would have done both sides somehow. Maybe have bought another keycap that I could have, faded without too much issue. But if you are leaving your keyboards out in the sun somewhere, just be aware you are going to get this subtle fading. And what that's going to do to you and your artisans and your keycaps and your keyboards, well, it just means you might experience a bit of that grief when you discover that it's been fading your anodized. Anyway, that's it. We're done. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. If you like this kind of stuff and you want to see more experiments and things of that nature, please hit that subscribe button, that bell button so you get notifications on whenever new videos come out, and of course that like button. Leave your comments below as usual. Well, thank you for checking out this video, and of course, as usual, until next time, not gonna say anything. You're just gonna lurk in the back of the video. Yeah, it's too quiet. Go on. Happy clacking.